Hello everyone, Vampire218 here, super hyped to be bringing you the Week 3 recap of the MCL Moon Conference. This week I'm joined by War for 120, aka Levonat. Please say hello.
Only if you ask nicely. Of course I'm going to say hello. Vampire218, thank you for having me back on the show. It's always an honor to record with you, buddy.
And we are also joined this week by SolarBiscuit.
Hey, what's going on?
So, we're going to jump right into the very first match, which is Dark versus Normal. And Solar, can you please take us over the box scores for this match?
Sure thing. So looking at this match, so it was an interesting match. Dark and Normal, coached by Paulette, who was coaching Dark, and the Oakland Aerodactyls coaching Normal. Honestly, this was a close match. It was a 1-0 win for Paulette. He got 4 kills, no deaths on Weavile this week. It just absolutely did work. And his Crawdon he brought actually did work too. Nice 2 kills, but it did go down. Looking at the opposing side, the Oakland Aerodactyls decided to bring a lot of interesting Mons this week I didn't expect them to bring, and a lot of them ended up getting kills. Mega Pidgeot got a nice kill, Staraptor picked up 1, even Ursaring got a kill, and of course their lead attacker this match, Snorlax, managed to pick up a nice 2 kills. So this was an interesting match, and honestly it just came down to the final score, 1-0 win.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Levonat, what did you see in this match?
Well, here's one of the big things that you got to understand about this type of setup. Obviously a mon like Weavile is going to have a bit of an edge in most of these kind of situations that are going to be neutral due to the fact that it has pretty good coverage and the fact that it's a fast mon naturally. I mean, I hate it. I hate Weavile so much because my favorite Pokemon's Azelf. So obviously I hate Weavile. It's the most natural counter to it. But you see on turn 2, the most important part in this match was turn 2 whenever he goes from the Sableye, seeing what's in front of him, switches out into Tyranitar, gets the sand up, which allows, as you know, Tyranitar to have a special defense boost, which he needed against the Hurricane, because the Hurricane was coming. And you know what? Once it got going, the Weavile had no problems. With the knockoffs, the low kicks, it was superb. Because obviously, even though he had the Snorlax, which was using the curse set, which Snorlax, if you haven't noticed, guys, is very much a tier 1 threat in this format. It's a super threat in this format. And the Weavile just worked around it by going with the knockoffs when it needed to, getting rid of King's Rocks on the Kinkino, getting rid of the Snorlax with a one-shot low kick, which was super, super smart. Man, it was just fun to see. Really loved, though, the Mega Sableye play, getting the burn off on Ursaring. How cool was that, Vampire?
I mean, I don't think that was that good. I mean, you usually don't want to burn an Ursaring because, after it even got revealed that the Flame Orb, it was probably Guts Facade Ursaring, meaning that he wanted that to happen. But, what I really saw this match is, as we've seen so far, Paulette going into this week was 2-0 and is now 3-0, I believe. And Paulette really understands his type quite well. Just looking over, it really felt the entire match that Paulette was in control. And even, when Amon died, you felt that, that was part of a better scheme of things. It was almost like Paulette was playing chess, and, he felt like it really, you could see he was thinking 2-3 moves ahead, And you see it all throughout the match. And, the Cursed Lax almost turned it around and got very close, but, and Paulette had to sack a couple things there, but even in sacking, you watch that match, and it's hard to argue that Paulette is not very good at his type.
Oh, absolutely. And he's one of those guys that definitely is showing his bravado, showing his style. Robust Finch, is definitely no slouch in any stretch of the imagination. He's better than his record looks, and you can see it right there in this match. Trying to make the curse set Snorlax work, and just putting together a roster that made sense. There were a few things that I would have brought in differently, because I didn't see, me, there are a couple of Mons that, if we're looking at a dark, in a normal match, there are 2 Mons, well, really just 1 Mon in this setup that I was just like, where is it? And it's Wigglytuff.
Really?
Where's the Wigglytuff? I want to see Wigglytuff. I really do. I know that sounds silly, but I want to see me a tier 5 fairy. I want to see a tier 5 fairy.
I mean,
but that's just me.
I think that there's a bigger thing that, the Mega should have been different. Mega Pidgeot's okay, but going against Dark, why not Mega, what's his face? Lopunny.
Well, and that makes sense too. It really does, because the Drain Punch, the Fake Out set was going to work and do damage. Especially when you think about Dark's Megas, it's either Sharpedo, which Sharpedo would have done well in this match because of our we don't have the policy of you have to Mega Evolve first turn, so you can get the speed boost off.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really think about it, you're right, because if you think about him bringing Mega Sableye, one of the most natural high tier Megas that counter the Sableye is Lopunny. So I mean, you think about it. Yeah, you could have just rocked a fake out last resort set or a fake out Drain Punch set and really just done some work.
And I'm thinking even fake out Drain Punch, Facade, High Jump Kick, or
there
even
you go.
Sub as the last move.
It was definitely just one of those where, had he had the right setup, it would have been better, because obviously, especially whenever you saw the Crocodiles and the Tyrannitars, those are heavy Mons. Those are Mons that, again, with Dark being weak to fighting, where's the Mega Lopunny?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mega Lopunny and Wigglytuff, I think he has those two in his roster over, Mons like Staraptor and Conchita. Or Licky. You take out Staraptor and Licky and Mega Pidgeot and replace it in with Wigglytuff and Mega Lopunny. I think you have a 4-0 win in the favor of normal.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next match.
Yes. This will be Psychic versus Fire, and we actually have one of the coaches for that here today.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, didn't you?
Yes, this was a fun match to play. It was between me, who was proxying for Sky, and Axeman, who was coaching Fire. I was coaching Psychic. He had a 3-0 win. He had some great kills on some great Mons. Like, he brought Volcarona, which managed to pick up 3 kills in the match, a Chandelure, which got a kill, Heatran that got a kill, Ninetales got a kill. Looking on my side that match, I was able to pick up a nice little kill on Mew and Latias, but overall, Axeman just had good control throughout the match and definitely really good coverage moves, because Volcarona's Bug Buzz just absolutely drilled through a lot of my team, I remember.
Well,
absolutely. You tried your best on there. That's what I was super impressed by his use of Ninetales first turn, getting that nasty plot off. And you played around it and eventually got it down with the Mew. Getting the knock off, getting the waterfall, which nice use of physical Mew, but at the end of the day, the damage had been done by that point, sort of.
Absolutely.
I mean, I really have to
What'd you
question
see,
though. Well, my big question here is why Mega Metagross? You're bringing it into a week where you have a natural weakness to fire, and I'm almost curious why Mega Metagross over any of the other Megas, and where was the Slowking?
Slowking I wasn't even thinking about on my radar at the time, but with Mega Metagross, honestly, I don't remember what I was calcing at the time, but I believe there was a few Mons that I really thought that Metagross could one-hit KO. I don't know what they were. I will have to double check.
Well, it would be the ones that obviously, if he brought any kind of, but the thing I remember, you're typing, so I mean, he's not going to bring the firefighting ones that are going to be able to, be kind of rough around the edge. He's not going to bring certain other things that are going to be rough around the edges. Really, though, your Mega that you should have brought, as Vampires hinted to, was Mega Slowbro. Mega Slowbro, and then replace Slowbro with Slowking, and all of a sudden, this becomes a favorable matchup for you in a lot of ways. I know the Bug Buzz does work against you, but still, those two right there, just put the work out for you, just a little bit harder. What do you think? What do you think there, Vampire? I mean, he also could have brought, Mew's great, but if you really wanted to go with a Mew, or you really wanted to go with a competitive set, Gothitelle, man, you know what? Give my boy Azelf a try. I'm just saying.
I totally agree. It probably should have been one or the other, because, I mean, you really wanted one of those kind of to be a support, and I guess Azelf would have been better, because Rocks in this match you needed rocks in this match. Absolutely needed them because I'm looking at his team. Volcarona takes half, Chandler takes a quarter, Heatran takes neutral, Victini takes a quarter, Ninetales takes a quarter, and Mega Houndoom takes a quarter. So, and he has no way of getting rid of those, I don't think.
The only thing I see on there that could have gotten rid of it would have been Volcarona if he had defog. I think Volcarona gets defog, but you're right. It's pretty much they're there once they're there for the most part, because how this match was playing, it was playing pretty hyper offense overall. Yeah, look, I like Gothitelle, but unless you can use Shadow Tag Gothitelle, she's just a little on the slow side. I'm a bit more of a fan of speeds, which is why I would have left Mew in the roster and replaced it with either Uxie or replaced Gothitelle with either Uxie or Azelf, just because of the opportunity that you have there. Whichever one I used, if I used Azelf, I would have had rocks on Mew. If I had Uxie, I would have had rocks on Uxie. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's what I would think.
So Volcarona, in fact, does not learn defog.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay, my bad.
Well, you got to remember, defog was a TM and only gets bred on very, very few selective mons. I think 6 mons get it bred on them, and it was only a TM for 1 generation. So very few mons actually get defog, and Fire, I believe, might only get Charizard and Torkoal as ways of removing hazards. So in every match against Fire, it's going to be extremely valuable to be able to get up those hazards, those rocks, because you're just doing so much work. And I am incorrect. Moltres and Ho-Oh also learn it. However, Ho-Oh is banned. And Moltres, you're taking a half.
Is useless.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to the next match here, which is going to be Ground versus Dragon. And
Yeehaw.
I think we have a coach from that match here, too.
What? SolarBiscuit, you've been everywhere this week, haven't you?
I have, haven't I? I believe this match was actually played very recently, from my memory. This was I believe, 3-0 win for the Dragon coach. I forgot who that was. You remember who it was?
Irish Emerald.
Irish Emerald.
Yes, I remember. We almost didn't have him. He almost got proxied this week. So looking at this match, I managed to bring a decent team. I think I could have bought a lot better stuff, but I brought some stuff that did get kills. Mamoswine managed to pick up 2 kills. The Landorus Theory managed to get 1 kill, but everything just ended up falling because that Kieran Black man, 4 kills, no deaths that match, plowed through me, was a real threat throughout the match, and Megalodios and Salamence on top of that just put the icing to the cake, basically. They were great, and you deserve to win the match.
The more we're playing this league format, there are a few mons that are starting to show up as mons that, even though they are illegal in the format, they are definitely showing up as mons that are possibly worthy of having a usage tag against them in terms of number of times you can bring them to a match. I'm not saying we're going to put that in effect, but it's definitely showing up where there are mons that are like that. Kieran Black is one of them.
Ban.
Yeah, because Kieran Black is one of them.
Well,
yeah.
There's a difference between, because you understand the way I've made Heatran look, and Heatran is not looking the same way in Sun Conference, but Kieran Black's looking pretty similar in both, and that's what's really scary, because you can take an average or above average mon and have a coach who makes it shine, and then you can have an extremely above average mon and have everybody make it shine because it just naturally shines. And I think that's what's Kieran Black is showing up at least once a week, and it's always putting in a lot of work. So definitely, if we do a season 2, that would be one of the mons we definitely have to look into for something.
Well, we'll definitely have to do a suspect test, and really what I'm thinking about is if we do put mons up for bans or usage limits, it would really come down to, in my opinion, the number of their kill, their KD ratio across both leagues combined. If a mon, because like most of these mons are going to be active because of how this league works. They're a dual type mon is going to have 4 different coaches using them.
Absolutely.
If we're seeing a mon like Kieran Black at the end of this season with a KD ratio of above 3 across on average across both leagues combined, then we probably need to have a talk about it, for real. But, so far, the thing is that you got to understand that, Kieran Black is just straight up mean.
And you look at this match, and this match absolutely proves it. Because, you look at the very start, and I know you forgot about Terravolt Solar. And it really ruined your day.
Don't you dare mention it.
I know you had a dream, and Terravolt just completely destroyed that dream. And that's what's really scary, too. It's essentially Mold Breaker on an extremely powerful Mon. And it's on a Mon that can bypass Sturdy because it just has the power to. And what's really scary even more is, you can run a special Kieran Black, and that's still about 120 special attack.
Right.
So,
and the thing is that it's better as a physical threat, but dude, it still rocks hard as a special threat. My big question here is, Solar, you could have had a better shot. First off, why was Golem not sturdy?
It was.
It was.
Terrible.
Oh, terrible! You're right. I forget about that. So you got to sash it then, or something like that. I forgot about terrible. Wow, we're all forgetting about terrible.
He probably had the weakness policy, to be honest.
Okay, but here's my thing. Is that what really, was funny with this match is I think that you possibly even the score a little bit if you had brought in Hippo with the there's an item that Hippo can use that extends the length of Sandstorm.
Smooth Stone, I think it is, or Smooth Rock.
Yeah,
Smooth Rock.
Yeah, whatever that is. I think if you bring Hippo and play that, because it does increase your entire team's special defense, if I'm correct, right? Right,
Mm-hmm.
Vampire?
No.
Oh, rock types and steel
rock
types,
types.
right?
Oh, so only the dual type with
Oh,
rocks.
just
That's right.
So, Golem.
So Golem does. I thought it would do it with more.
Nope,
That's-
only Golem.
Oh well. Well, that's a fail right there. A fail idea. Well, fudge that. Screw it. Yeah, don't worry. Just throw it away. It's a bad idea. But really, I know Mudbud over in the other league has been able to work around the dragon type, but the dragon type as a whole is a monster because they have unnaturally higher, base stats among their fully evolved Mons. It's just a tough match, and you did what you could, especially especially against that Kieran Black rocking hard. I believe that was Kieran Black. I'm not sure if it was scarfed. I don't remember seeing.
It was definitely scarfed.
Scarf Kieran Black, man, just wrecks teams. We should call that Mon Wrecker.
Absolutely, because what can you do in this match? And an Ice Beam on a special Kieran Black, which is still extremely carry. I'm looking at this roster, and Mamoswine takes it neutral, and Gastrodon takes it neutral. But even so, they're still going to take quite a bit of damage because of Kieran Black's just naturally high offensive stats.
Absolutely.
But let's move on to the next match of Steel versus Fairy.
So this was your match, Vamp, correct?
It was.
And already looking at the board, we can see, you're making Heatran look sexy in this league, man. I think you've gotten 3-4 kills with it every week I've seen. You're just making this thing look boss, man. And your other Mons aren't doing too shabby either. Mega Metagross got a kill this match. Jirachi got 2 kills, didn't die. And that was a 6-1 loss. Or 6 kill. Excuse me. Yeah, was it a 5-0 loss?
It was a whooping.
Yes, it was a 5-0 loss. Metagross went down.
All I saw was a whooping. That's all I saw.
Only kill he got on the Jock got was one on Clefable, right? Yeah. So murder, basically.
I want to point out here that this is a very interesting thing to see because we see a 6-0 Slurpuff sweep last week coming into this, which is and I wasn't even aware of the Slurpuff sweep because in the match he sends me a message and he says something like, I think you just stopped a 6-0 Slurpuff sweep or something, and I had no idea what he was talking about.
Well, I just love first off how your flash fire, how the swagger worked against him. I love that. The swagger, it gets the swagger off in the clef key, which just so as you guys know in this matchup, because of how fire works against Fairy and how steel works against Fairy, Heatran is the perfect Mon for this match. It really is.
Absolutely.
And you having the Klefki swagger you and then hit yourself in confusion with a fire move, I guess. All of a sudden the flash fire goes off and boom.
No,
It's like
I got the flash fire because I made so what ended up happening was I had Probopass out, he had Grand Bull out, he EQs, I switched into Skarmory predicting an EQ, he went for Fire Punch. I went for a move, he went for Fire Punch again, so I predicted a third Fire Punch and went into Heatran getting the Flash Fire.
my apologies
But
then.
it didn't make a difference because I didn't go for a fire move, so.
My apologies then. But it was impressive just to be able to see what things were working. Obviously you had to do a little bit of reliance on Haxrachi there, but you know what? It didn't matter at the end of the day. You were Haxrachi who did the important work at the end, helped you stall out that Mega Altaria, which was super important. My question to you, what did he bring the right Mons? He obviously didn't, but did he bring the Mons that could have worked if he had played them differently?
So I think he's really set on that Slurpuff, and I think that is one of the biggest mistakes this match. Klefki, Clefable, Granbull, Mega Altaria, and Sylveon are absolutely brilliant picks, and Sylveon because he can cleric with that thing pretty well. Now, instead of Slurpuff, he should have brought in an Azumarill, because Azumarill takes neutral from Steel.
Right.
And, a lot of my reliance here was on Steel-type moves, so Azumarill coming out, even like a Sap... I guess it wouldn't have mattered for Sap Sipper, but, Azumarill being able to take those moves and dish out some pretty significant damage based on its offensive stat, it definitely would have shifted the game a little bit. I'm not sure if it would have guaranteed him a victory because it's a very hard matchup. My stabs are super effective against him, so very hard match for him to.
What I would have done a little differently in his favor, he has Sylveon on his team. Sylveon's pretty a stout Monic. It's not super slow. It has certain abilities. Every evolution, just so you know, is essentially in a certain manner the perfect baton passer. They really are. And I would have brought in Florges instead of Slurpuff for this match. And I would have brought Florges with the intention of passing some serious stat buffs into Florges. So that way I could have forced you onto the offensive and play around my defensive game.
Possibly.
Pushing you around while I do healing on myself with synthesis, because obviously you're not going to play a weather unless you played a sand rush type of Excadrill, which I would not think that you would.
I think I did actually.
Well then, good. But the whole thing is that as a whole, your type is unless you really bring a few certain Mons. I wasn't really going to see in this match a weather that was going to be resistant, hurting my synthesis power with Florges. And really, I've done enough spamming with Florges to know that if I play it correctly, I can outlast a Heatran, I can outlast a lot of Steel Mons because of Florges' power. Its special power is off the charts. Its defensive power, if Spectrite, can be super solid. I would have tried to go for a defensive pass into Florges from a Sylveon, and then go for it myself through Florges. But that's me.
I mean,
that's me.
It's possible, but I do have to say, Fairy played this game impeccably. Their prep was very on par. They brought the right moves. And again, I think that the Slurpuff maybe was a bad bring, and I would have brought a Azumarill just because you're at least taking neutral from Steel. But, they knew when to T-Wave. They knew when to try and, hit me with a fire move. They knew, they were predicting quite well. It's just, I think, because I was playing well as well, and the type advantage is, ultimately what led to victory there. But let's move on to the next one of Water versus Flying.
So this match was between Hunter, who was the water coach, and Joltvolt, who was the flying coach. Obviously, by Cloyster's 5 kills, it simply came down to the fact that Jolt's Volts didn't have anything that could take Rock Blast or Icicle Spears from Shell Smash Cloyster. Simple as that.
Look, when you
Why you got a
bring
4-0 win.
exactly, and here's the thing, guys. You gotta understand something. He played it patiently. Okay, when you play the janitor set Cloyster, it's so tempting to just bring it out first turn. It really is. It's so tempting. And the thing is that Hunter and I have been friends for quite a while, Hunt Beast Hunter. And the thing is, he's seen me play Rockefeller, who is my Cloyster set, which he actually called it Rockefeller in his match as well, which I'm super in love with him for doing that. He knows how to rock it, and for me, he's seen me do it plenty of times, and he understands that. Look, just be patient. And the thing was, I love it. I love it because I'm always impatient, and I'll bring that set out first turn and just try to break through what I can, and then just deal with it afterwards. He waits until some Mons have already taken some damage, to where the ones that may have killed now kills, and he goes for it, and he goes for it so well. But the most important thing, he actually risked the biscuit there. He did. I would be so scared of Rock Blast, because Rock Blast always misses when you need it to, right? Because, it's a little bit less accuracy. And you know what, though? Screw it. That 1%, that Focus Sash, Shell Smash, Rockefeller Oyster went to
that little
work.
oyster that could.
You know what? Props to you for making the janitor set work, as you just made Jolts eat the biscuit there.
And absolutely, because, we have Water, who up until this point, because of the Fairy match last week, we haven't seen too much of what Hunt is capable of. Because, he had a 7-turn match in Fairy, and he just couldn't do anything. There was no coming back from that at that point, and it's really scary. And, flying as well, this is a coach who also, very good coach, understands his type, and plays very well. But once that Cloyster got going, it was another Slurpuff situation. There was absolutely nothing that could get done. He couldn't outspeed, he couldn't take the hits, so...
The only thing that he possibly could have done that would have gotten him around that is if he had a scarfed, Tornadus Therian. That's really the only way I can think of him possibly getting around that, because... or a scarfed. There's plenty of fast Mons or priority Mons in there, but you're not going to bring Smogon Bird in this match, obviously.
Well,
it's this.
Exactly. Talonflame would be the best Mon to take that out, but you're not going to bring a Talonflame.
Bring Talonflame to this match, exactly. But and it's really one of those where it's just what actually gets priority in the flying type. And there are a couple, Smogon Bird is obviously one due to its ability, Gale Wings. But, there's not too many that really get that priority. What was that?
I mean, exactly what you're saying. It just, there was nothing that could get done, because flying usually doesn't need priority. It's so fast. And, you can put a scarf on Togekiss. And I'm even thinking, I don't know if a scarf, anything he had there, would outspeed that ×2 speed Cloyster. And that's
because most of the Mons that he really rocked in this match are not naturally fast Mons. I mean, he's got Mantine, who's kind of a slower Mon. He's got Jumpluff, who's a little on the faster side, but not super uber fast. You've got Thunderous Therian, who's pretty fast, but yeah. You can't have an item on Mega Charizard if there's no chance there. Togekiss is not the fastest either, and Zapdos is really your only Mon Zapdos and Thundurus are really your only two Mons that really have, really high natural speed that I'm seeing. And, there are faster birds out there, but he just couldn't get around it. It's just Cloyster's janitor set is the janitor set for a reason. It's just mean. And he also has access to a priority move in Icicle Shard, which is super effective against pretty much your whole team. So, I mean, it's even if you could possibly outspeed, he still has the ability to pull out that and still do stab super effective damage.
And that's what's really scary. But let's move on to the next match, which is Fighting versus Electric. So
Now this match was a fun one, man, because I actually watched this one, and the Borussia Darmanitan and the Newcastle New Kings, this was a close one. This one, I believe, came down to 1-0 win for the Darmanitan, and all I can really remember from this match was just, average, pretty good play, I'd say, from the Darmanitans, getting 2 kills on Rotomwash, 2 kills on Ampharos, getting a kill on Thunderous Incarnate, I believe, a kill on Zapdos, and, well, on the fighting side of the spectrum, the New Kings were only able to get 3... Actually, I say only. I mean, still, he killed half the team with Mega Lopunny, even though it was more of a just a cleaner in that match. Custap Berry Sock managed to get a kill in that match. That was fun to watch. And the Terrakion managed to pick up a kill, but it just was not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of things going on that were fun to see. The fighting team really just trying their best to do what makes the most sense. The fire, and really what it comes down to mental preparation of what you're expecting to see. And in a lot of ways, I feel like it was almost overkill for the electric type in what they did in terms of overcoming a natural weakness. Whenever I played the normal type, obviously I'm going to bring Mons that are going to be fighting type too. But I intentionally left off a couple of them because I was scared of being overly exposed to a different weakness, And that's what I was scared of for, the Borussia Darmanitan going into this match when I was watching it live. You see he has Zapdos, Rotom Fan, a Thunderous Therian, Thunderous Incarnate. I mean, he's got 4, electric flying Mons that, it's a scary thought, well, what if he rocks the Stone Edge like he did on the Terrakion? But he did the most important thing. It paralyzed what needed to be paralyzed to get around it. And that's what won him the match, I think, at the end. Because at the end of the day, the Terrakion could not get done the job it needed to get done because it was paralyzed.
And I definitely want to say that this was probably the match of the week because of how close it ended up being. And again, with the prep, we see Electric as being just too cautious. Last week we saw him bringing, 6 Mons immune to ground when he was going up against the ground type. And he's doing like a very similar thing this week. He's bringing the 2 Rotoms, the 2 Thunderouses. He's bringing 4 Mons that don't take ground type damage. And he's opening himself up for 4 rock weaknesses there. And that's just huge.
Yeah. And when I was watching it, I was like, well, what's next? Is he going to bring a Molga? You know what I'm saying? No, don't get me wrong, I love a Molga, but it's one of those where you just, look, he was one of those that, had the fighting type, brought in a couple different Mons that could carry, a rock type move, or carry, even some ice type moves. It could have been a lot different. Think about this right here. This is just some food for thought right here. Fighting type. What's a fighting type Mon that carries Ice Punch? What's
basically anything but Infernape, Poliwrath,
exactly.
Hitmonchan, anything that's not like part fire.
So think about what if Chimchar had brought just a couple of Mons rocking an ice punch instead of what he was doing, because we know that it wasn't his type, but you see that he went way overboard in overcoming his type. So this could have been a really ugly match had Chimchar brought 2 different moves on 1 or 2 different Mons, and it worked out in the end for him. But man, I'm seeing a bit of a trend with the Borussia Darmanitan. And hey, if it wins you matches, it wins you matches. If your opponent's not smart, not paying attention enough to recognize that you're over prepping for your weakness, then hey, why not, right?
I mean, it is very risky though, and that's what I think is the scariest part. Because, there has to be other things that are going to make ground neutral. Bring some of those. Don't try and bring 4 immunities, but add 4 weaknesses. Reduce that to some neutrals and whatnot. It's just, you're never going to cover all of the weaknesses of a type. It's not going to happen. So, you reduce them to a manageable point. Maybe have 2 rock weaknesses, 2 ground weaknesses, a weakness here of another type that's probably not getting brought. But let's move on to the next match, and that should be Rock versus Bug. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this was the Houston Herdiers versus the Chicago Scissors. Looking at the type matchup, you would think that the Herdiers had an advantage, and, well, looks like they did, basically. They got a 4-0 win. They brought McCargo, Regirock, Mega Aerodactyl, Terrakion, Archeops, Relcanth. Pretty much everything on his team got a kill except for the Archeops. And the Relcanth managed to get 2, which Relcanth I think is an interesting bring, because I don't think he's brought that at all this season yet. And it's not a mon I think of when I first think of rock types. Looking on the opposing side of the field, you see that the Bug tried to get the jump by bringing 3 steel types, but it did not work out as all 3 of them died, and only one of them managed to get a kill, that being Scizor. On the other half of the team, you got Levani, Heracross, and Pinsir. Levani did have a bit of work, getting 2 kills, and Heracross got 1 kill. Pinsir didn't get to do anything. That thing got killed right off the bat at the start of the match, turn 2, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think it was simply just a good win by the Rock coach, Houston Herdiers.
My thing here is that I think from watching this match, I can't help but feel like he pulled the close combat a turn too early with Heracross.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. But what do you think, Vampire? You know, did we even see what his mega was? Like, I guess we can assume that it was
Pincer.
Pinsir.
It was Mega Heracross because Bullet Seed Skill Link is
He
did
not mega evolve Heracross.
I think he wanted. I'm not sure. It could have been either or, and either. I mean, I think Mega Heracross is probably a little bit better than Mega Pinsir in this match, because Mega Pinsir, again, taking a quarter or half from rock, times 4 from a rock weakness, whereas Mega Heracross takes neutral. So,
Right.
I was really happy to see Relencanth put in work, because that's really what you want to see in a league like this, right? We want Mons that are generally not putting in that work. We want to see Slurpuffs getting that 6-0. We want to see Relencanths putting in work. We want to see Probopass being, a top-tier steel support mon. We want to see these odd mons that you don't generally see in draft leagues, not only putting in value, but, getting brought, not even just once, but week after
multiple
week.
Times.
Yeah, multiple times on multiple teams, and putting in, sure, my Probopass may only have, I think, 1 kill at this point, but that thing is probably responsible for more wins than anything else other than maybe Heatran, because it's, it sets up my rocks, it sets up my sand, it has, so many other things it does. And
Power Gem.
Absolutely. There's just and that's the thing. There's so many other mons like that, sure, they may not be the ones getting the kills, but they're going to either tank the damage or set up your support. And I think, Relencanth kind of was one of those things. It's, I guess, a really odd closer, and it worked.
The head smash moves are always risky. I don't trust them because, I'm one of those guys who I'm super cautious whenever I even think about bringing a less than 100% accuracy move. And it worked, though, for him, so who cares?
I know.
But, and that's what's so impressive. I loved the Herdiers team in this match. I loved seeing Relencanth because obviously we had our video where we had Mega Relencanth, which was so much fun. So we kind of saw Relencanth go Mega right there for a little bit, partially. But, it was nice to first off, we've seen. It's nice to see what Comp Science Dixon is doing in this division, because we haven't really seen too much positive in terms of win-loss record on the other side of the spectrum yet from the other Rock coach, but they probably will whenever they play me this week. So, fingers crossed.
Rock is one of those types where it's at a very big disadvantage. A lot of the mons it can bring have a lot of weaknesses. A lot of those weaknesses being quad weaknesses too, to the point where an HP grass, an HP fighting, like the right hidden, an HP water in some cases.
Right.
These moves are going to either pop your sturdy, pop your sash, or just kill you. And, they shouldn't, but they do, and that's what's really sad. Let's move on to the next one, though, and I believe this one will be Poison versus Ice.
And this one was Vandal coaching the Poison and Perfect Blue coaching the Ice team, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
absolutely.
This was a 2-0 win by Blue. Vandal really just wasn't able to get the win simply. He brought a few weird things, in my opinion. He brought Mega Venusaur. I don't know why you'd bring a grass Pokemon in your ice match. I'll have to watch the match again to see what he was trying to do with that. But he was able to get a kill with most of his team. I mean, he was able to get a single kill on the Tenta, the Mega Venu, the Skuntank, and the Gengar. Again, looking at Blue's team, that Kyurem Black is just power, man. Getting 3 kills just like it did in the Dragon match this week. That thing is just fire. And he also managed to get some work going with his Frostlass and that Jinx that week. And it's just simply a win. Kyurem Black's boss.
Pure and simple. Look, and you were saying about the Mega Venusaur. Remember, Mega Venusaur's ability, whenever it Mega evolves, gives it makes it a bit more sturdy against an ice attack. So
Thick Fat.
That's what it is. The Thick Fat ability helps it out a lot. So that's why he brought it. If you look over on this matchup, Vandal X is a beast. You should never underestimate him when it comes to a match. He's gonna have it all ready to go in his mind, and it's gonna make sense. Perfect Blue is another one of those guys who's proving to us that he is another one of those kind of coaches, where he's just got it all figured out to a certain extent. And I really appreciated seeing what he was doing this week. He brought Oros, which is a mon that I was super happy to see. I wanted to see Oros. I really was happy with what he was doing with the Frostlass, making sure it outsped Gengar, which is something that doesn't happen.
I mean, I think what's really interesting is, you got to remember, Vandal X is probably we hype
Most
him up.
accomplished.
Most accomplished, absolutely. Because you got to remember, he is a team builder for the GBA, and he does float at 1800 in the OU tier for Showdown. And so we hype him up a lot, and to see Blue come out of nowhere, and Blue's been performing very good in this league so far, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's perfect actually.
I think he's perfect as well at this point, and that is scary to see. Because this is a pretty neutral match, to be honest. I mean, if anything, I would give a slight advantage. I mean, I can't even give an advantage because Ice has Jinx with that Psychic type, but then Toxicroak. So
exactly.
It's really hard to get, and I mean, it's really hard to give actually any advantage here. So,
and really, if you want to say an advantage, you almost want to give it to the poison type, just because of mon diversity being a little bit more broad in this match. Because I'm being serious. If you really think about it, because if you look at the mon pool availability to it, you get a little bit more of a narrow pool for Perfect Blue in this match versus Vandal, which kind of puts it a bit more in Vandal's favor, because of just Poison having a bit more of a mon pool that's usable in this match. And really what I was surprised by, there was, Vandal puts a lot of effort into this match, put a lot of, good stuff out there, but it wasn't the stuff that just ended up working at the end of the day. And Perfect Blue just was able to get just enough to go ahead right there. Again, Kyurem Black is showing himself to be a complete jerk monster.
And I mean, that again, we see that's maybe 7 kills, 0 deaths this week so far.
This week.
Exactly,
yeah.
This week in this division.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what's really scary, because even with deaths, and I don't think deaths are what's going to make it. I mean, because you can have your Kyurem Black go 3-1. And that still decimates a team. Even 2-1, that's pretty good trade.
Absolutely. So, I will take 2-1 on a mon every single week. If I have a mon that I can go 2-1 with, heck yeah!
Absolutely. Let's move on to the last match here, which is Grass versus Ghost. What a match.
What a match. Well, this match, just so you know, was a little bit awkward going into it, and I just want to say props to R23G for being a man, all right? We had a little bit of a dropout situation with PCM, who took some PCP and decided to not play in the league anymore, and it happens. And this was originally going to be a 3-0 forfeit in the favor of Jets, who is the ghost type coach. I wasn't going to take it away from him, but R2-3G just decided to hop in the league and be the grass type coach. So Jets decided to battle him. So he had short prep time, and he still was able to get out there. But really, I've just been impressed with the growth that Jets Lover has put together since coming into the league.
Absolutely. I mean, and we'll have Solar go over the box score here first, and then we'll get into the what we saw and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, all I'm really going to say about this match is Jet Lover really took advantage of that. He was coach of the Ghost this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he really just took advantage of the fact that, you got some great Ghost types that get good, side typing. Chandler and Frostlass getting super effective attacks on the grass typing, and he took advantage of that perfectly. He got 3 kills on Chandler, 1 on Frostlass for a combined total of 4 kills with them, and this brought that nice Gengar, which picked up 2 kills. Nothing much R2G could really do about it, especially with that short prep time he had.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm more than thrilled by what he did. The setup by Jets Lover, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the Chandler was scarfed. Is that correct?
Possibly.
Let me go look at this one more time just to make sure.
But we definitely have seen Jets Lover, probably grow the most as a coach so far in the league. And, in 3 weeks, it's not much, but, we've definitely seen him probably improve the most so far. And I'm really hoping, after trainer school, after a few more weeks, we're seeing others improve in a very similar way. Because, the amount that Jets Lover has improved is significant. And, everyone still has a long way to go. I mean, I still have a long way to go myself. I'm still spending way longer on prep than I need to. And there's just tons of different things that everyone can improve on. And I'm really hoping that that's what this league is going to do. More than just having fun and seeing the most powerful type, improving not just in monotype, but in general. And we definitely have already seen that with Jets. And that's what's really important. But going into what we saw in the match, I have to ask you this: why Meganium? Why do you think you brought Meganium this week?
I think that was just a love pick. In all honesty, I've known R2 a little bit, and I feel like Meganium was a love pick. Really, I'm kind of shocked there wasn't a Shift Tree instead of a Meganium. Just saying, just putting that out.
Yeah.
I mean, Shift Tree's an infinitely better pick. The Cacturn was probably out of his entire roster. I gotta say, I hate to say it like this, but Cacturn was probably the most efficient Mon that he was bringing in that roster.
And I see it the exact opposite.
Well, no, it wasn't worked efficiently, but it was the one that was. It wasn't worked efficiently, but it was the Mon. The Mon
itself, absolutely. But I do have to say this, R2, you can't go for Sucker Punch 8 times in a row and expect them not to understand it. He gave Jets Lover a huge opportunity to set up on him, and that's what's scary. And I don't actually think the Chandelure was scarfed, because I think Chandelure had to keep switching between moves at that point against the Cacturn to not take Sucker Punch while it was wisped.
Good point.
But you can't do that. He had to put an offensive move on there other than Sucker Punch. And he didn't, I don't think. So that's what's really, I think, really faulted him, because he gave Jets Lover a massive... He basically stalled himself out. He gave
Jets pretty much all the momentum he needed to be able to get around it. He really did. And, I get it. It's an ideal play. You think it's going to eventually work. I had a similar thing happen to myself where you get caught up playing chess is what happens. Well, that's what happens is you get caught up trying to play chess against your opponent will they finally fall for it? Will they finally fall for it? And the thing was, though, Jets wasn't falling for it.
No, because, and you can even see that after, I think, the 4th or 5th, Jets just knew all he had to do was stall out that burn. And you can't play chess when you're stalling out a burn. You know, Grass was the person in the situation who was losing health there. You know, you can't go for Sucker Punch 8 times while burned.
Especially whenever your opponent's spamming a Mon that has a super effective natural typing against you.
And can set up with Calm Mind. That was what was scary.
Exactly.
You know, Jets Lover could have easily sat there and just spam Calm Mind, got times 4, and just swept through his entire team after the burn had taken him out.
Here's a question to you. I want to ask you this question, Vampire. There are a couple other Mons that I'm curious as to you know, Jets had an amazing win, obviously, you know, and all this. You know, as a Grass as a whole, you know, we're seeing that, you know, Shift Tree could have been impressive there. The CAC turn if prep better could have been impressive there. What other Mons would you have put on Grass's roster to give him a bit more of a that he needed to get around that roster?
Well, absolutely. Before anything else, I would take out that Sceptile. Take out Sceptile, I think take out Celebi for sure, and take out Meganium. You don't need those. And Celebi, it's hard to take out because it's, you know, it's a nice little, it's a cleric, but it still has that weakness to Ghost having the Psychic type. Had Ghost brought anything with U-turn, that Celebi is done. So, I mean, realistically, and it's really hard to, you know, pick this because, again, Grass isn't that diverse, but absolutely shiftery. I 100% agree with you on the shiftery bring. I think if he wanted to bring a Mon kind of like Celebi, Shaman would have been better, just because Shaman has that, you know, it doesn't have the ×4, and it gets a very, you know, it gets some similarly good moves that it's going to be able to use. I would almost say, you know, like something maybe like Whimsicott instead of Meganium there. You know, Shiftry instead of Sceptile, Shaman instead of Celebi, and then maybe Whimsicott over Meganium, because I feel like Meganium was meant to be a like support, but it didn't pan out, and I feel like Whimsicott's going to be better support in that it gets Prankster, right? So.
Yes, it gets Prankster, but it's also just really powerful as a whole.
Or even Sawsbuck even I could see being brought simply for that Ghost immunity.
Here's what I'm thinking, in all honesty. There's a Mon it's a super great, you know, Mon to have in this situation that works out pretty well if you spec it right. I would have brought in a belly drum Chestnut with bite. All right.
With bite.
Yeah. No, seriously. Belly drum Chestnut with bite. Deal with it. Deal with it, Jets. And I would just sat there and said, deal with it.
And I mean, you can't. And that's what's really scary.
And that's just what I'm thinking right there. I mean, you know, is it perfect? No, because, you know, Chandelure, you know, could possibly get around it if it was faster, how he was spec'd and all that. But, you know, that's what I'm thinking about right here. There are things that could have been done. They weren't done. You got to move on.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that's how the biscuit, you know, falls apart sometimes, you know.
Absolutely. You know, this has been the Week 3 recap. I believe we've gone over all the matches, absolutely. So, you know, super hyped to be bringing you this. I know that Levo's very happy to be doing this as well. And,
absolutely.
You know, we're going to close it off here. So you guys say goodbye, and we'll be very happy to be bringing you the Week 4 recap next week.
Good night, guys. This has been Levonat, a.k.a. War for 120, saying peace, 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 peace.